So this is it. Every waiver claim, every trade, every start-sit decision in 2023 has led to this moment and this opportunity to seize fantasy glory by winning a championship. I'm Jorden Hill, and I'm here to help you get prepared for the most important weekend of the season as we take a look at RotoBaller's consensus half PPR rankings for Saturday and Sunday's games. Keep in mind that there is no Monday night game. We'll dive right in, but first, please be sure to drop a like on the video and leave a comment down below with any start-sit dilemmas you're facing. At the quarterback position, we'll start at the bottom with number 12, Derek Carr. Carr's the type of quarterback that typically doesn't produce numbers that stand out for fantasy, but he's been on a bit of a roll lately with 3 passing touchdowns in each of his past 2 games, resulting in 2 straight finishes inside the top 10 fantasy QBs. He should be able to extend his hot streak on Sunday when the Saints take on the Buccaneers in a must-win divisional showdown. New Orleans will probably have a tough time getting their ground game going with Alvin Kamara in this one, but that's quite alright for Carr as Tampa Bay has surrendered the most passing yards and 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. Moving up to number 7, we have CJ Stroud. The rookie was inactive for the past 2 weeks as he remained in concussion protocol, but he's back at practice ahead of a Week 17 bout with the Titans. The Texans, Colts, and Jaguars are all tied up in the AFC South at 8-7, so expect Houston to bring its A game on Sunday. Tennessee has been regarded as a solid run defense, but it has actually done a pretty good job against fantasy QBs this year too, surrendering the 13th fewest points to the position. Still, we've seen the upside this Houston offense has with Stroud at the helm, so fantasy managers should feel confident deploying him in his return. Our number 5 quarterback, Brock Purdy, had a nightmare performance on Christmas night, tossing 4 interceptions and 0 touchdowns against a relentless Baltimore defense. To make matters worse, San Francisco sustained multiple injuries to its offensive line, and Purdy himself got a little banged up toward the end of the game. It's worth monitoring the status of the O-line, but Purdy should be fine to face the Commanders this week in a perfect spot to bounce back. Washington does not have the pass rush that the Ravens do, and it allows the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so don't give up on Purdy after one bad showing. We'll kick off our running back rankings with number 8, Kenneth Walker. Walker looked great against the Eagles in Week 15, but didn't do much in last week's victory over the Titans. He is getting almost all of the touches in Seattle's backfield though, and could easily return to form this week against the Steelers. Pittsburgh's run defense hasn't been great all year, and it's been destroyed over the past 4 weeks by Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner, and even Trey Sermon. The Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites at home, so I think we can expect plenty of run from Walker on Sunday. Making his way back into our top 5 is Travis Etienne. Etienne was unstoppable early on in the season, but has been really disappointing since Jacksonville's Week 9 bye. In his defense though, his schedule has been brutal, with matchups against Cleveland, San Francisco, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay all coming over the past 7 weeks. Finally, fantasy managers can feel confident in Etienne again, with the Jaguars taking on the Panthers this week. Carolina has surrendered the most rushing touchdowns and 3rd most fantasy points to running backs, and it was just carved up for 127 yards by Aaron Jones. Trevor Lawrence is dealing with a shoulder injury, leaving his status in question, but Etienne can get it done against this defense regardless of who is under center. Moving up just one spot, we have a player whose season has sort of been the inverse of Etienne's. He got off to a slow start, but has looked outstanding lately. I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs has found the end zone 5 times over the past 3 weeks as he and David Montgomery continue to operate as the league's best backfield tandem. Gibbs will be tested on Saturday against the Cowboys, who rank as the 12th most difficult opponent for fantasy RBs this year. Dallas has, however, been a lot more generous recently, giving up 5 total touchdowns and the 5th most fantasy points to running backs since Week 13, so no need to worry about this matchup for Gibbs. You must have a pretty stacked roster if you manage to make it this far with our number 12 receiver, Stefon Diggs. Diggs hasn't scored as a fantasy wide receiver 1 since Week 9, but he has scored outside of the top 50 receivers 4 times since then. Yikes. At this point, I can't sit here and say that Diggs is a must start against the Patriots, so if you have other options you feel comfortable with, go for it. But just remember that the Bills are very much alive, not only in the AFC playoff race, but specifically for the AFC East division title, so this is a very critical game for them. Our next 2 spots are occupied by teammates, so let's cover both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. The Rams' offense has been clicking lately, and both of these guys have been heavily involved. Kupp, unfortunately, couldn't capitalize on a few chances to score last week, but he should get another shot this Sunday against the Giants. New York has allowed the 5th most fantasy points to receivers this season, and just gave up respectable numbers to all 3 of Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert on Christmas. Nakua ranks one spot higher, coming off a massive performance in Week 16, but both LA wideouts should remain in starting lineups. He's fallen off track a little bit, but 2,000 receiving yards is still in reach for a player like Tyreek Hill, who comes in at number 3. Hill managed 99 yards on 14 targets last week, and will need to put up nearly 360 more yards to reach his goal. Of course, this isn't Miami's top priority, as the Dolphins can clinch the AFC East with a win over the Ravens this week. To accomplish this, though, the offense might have to run entirely through Hill. Baltimore's defense is elite, but has been pretty vulnerable to receivers lately, and Jalen Waddle might be out or limited on Sunday as he deals with a high ankle sprain. You'll need to keep an eye on the health of our number 11 tight end, Kmet, who missed practice on Wednesday with a knee injury. If he gets some reps in and suits up on Sunday, he's in a great spot against the Falcons. Atlanta's defense has been solid, but struggles against the tight end position, and Kmet has been a go-to guy for Justin Fields all year. He just went for over 100 yards in essentially 1.5 quarters last week, and should find success once again if healthy enough to play. We have Tucker Kraft kicking off our top 10 for now, but it does look possible for the other Packers rookie tight end, Luke Musgrave, to return from his stint on IR this week. If Musgrave is back, you'll probably want to play him over Kraft, but at least one of these guys should be pretty involved against the Vikings on Sunday night. Green Bay is likely to be without Christian Watson once again, and there are still questionable tags surrounding Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, so expect Jordan Love to target the tight end position pretty frequently against a Minnesota defense that's been surprisingly stout this year. All the way up at number 3 is Trey McBride, who's in the midst of a huge breakout campaign. He's earned at least 8 targets in 4 straight games, and is the definitive number 1 option for Kyler Murray while Hollywood Brown nurses a heel injury. It doesn't matter if Brown plays this week or not, McBride is in an excellent spot against the Eagles, who have given up the 6th most passing yards and 2nd most passing touchdowns this season. McBride will be the beneficiary of this matchup as the only consistent receiving threat in Arizona. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to subscribe to RotoBaller for all the fantasy sports content you need to help you win big in 2024. Thanks so much for tuning in, have a happy and safe new year, and best of luck in the Fantasy Championship.